Hello, I'm Tatiana Berringer, the General Coordinator of Social G20 in Finance Track at the Ministry of Finance in Brazil. I would like to congratulate the Power of Women Conference organization and everyone who is engaged in this team. I will share with you some aspects that were in progress during the Brazilian presidency of G20. Specifically, the establishment and the work of the Empowerment Working Group, Women Working Group. They could done a very good work. One of them were to invite the finance track to organize a joint side event. And this side event was about women and global economy, with the centrality of the empowerment of women in terms of economic empowerment. This was very well received by the delegates of Finance Track. We also invited some international organizations as partners and some civil society representatives as observers. I think the most important aspect was to show how the women has a cross-cutting issue in all the working groups of the finance track. It includes many areas that this team could be more developed or could be deeply analyzed and incorporated in the finance discussions. The first of all is to see how finance track and Sherpa's track needs to work together, as Brazilian presidents made many of initiatives. It's important to ensure that women aspects has a central space in these discussions and also is seen as a transversal or cross-cutting issue. So that's the first thing I think that can be highlighted when we are talking about G20 aspects and the necessity to include women, not just in the economy, but also in the leadership positions. The debates and also the issue notes that were wrote to this side event highlighted many key areas that could be in the discussions and could be more developed during the next presidents of G20. I will try to summarize some of them. The first of all of them is to combat poverty and inequality, because the women are the most impacted and affected in these situations. The second one is the equal pay. This is still a big fight for women in all the world to have the recognition of their positions and to receive the equal pay for the equal work. It's also important to have access to care services. It can reduce the time spent with unpaid work made by women, mostly made by women. The third is the gender responsive public budget. It's important that it can include not just the care services, but many other public policies that could help or could be important for women's life. Other point is the financial inclusion, to guarantee the finance education, the access to services, finance services, to bank accounting. Other aspect is the support for women-led entrepreneurship. It means to have credit for small and medium entrepreneurs led by women, that it can bring them not just autonomy, but the capacity for innovation. One aspect that was really one achievement of Brazilian presidents at G20 was a president note about the women leadership in international finance institutions. We made like a questionnaire for the multilateral development banks to see how is the women representative into the boards and management. And the women still have uh, at least 34% of representative in these positions. So it's really important to have a greater representative of women in these institutions. Other aspects is to have a gender perspectives in just transition. We know that women are the most affected by the disasters, by the climate crisis. So important when we are talking about the transitions plan that women could be in the center and in the leadership of these plans. Also, the same for the infrastructure plans and projects. And the last but not least, it should have tax reform with gender lens and debt reform or debt solution in negotiations with gender lens. We know that this can bring a new, specifically the taxation can bring a new society when we are talking about the combat inequalities and combat inequalities about wealth and guaranteeing more gender equality in all the national societies, not in just in G20, but in the world economy. Really think that these themes could be discussed in the next presidency and could be considered in other aspects, not just at the G20, but for people that are really engaged in building a just world and a sustainable planet. Thank you for your attention. I hope you have a good meeting and we can keep working for a world where women can have another role. Thank you.